Let me share a reality most men never get told. A woman doesn't hold onto the memory of the polite man. She remembers the one who left a mark on her soul. And that impression isn't always gentle. It can be turbulence. It can be uncertainty. But it is always significant. You've been coached to be reliable, to be kind, to be steady. And what has that earned you? Being overlooked, phased out, categorized as the safe choice. Yet, the man who defied expectation, he occupies a permanent space in her thoughts. Let me simplify this difficult reality. Women recall the men who push their boundaries, who ignite feeling, who awaken parts of their spirit they didn't realize were dormant. This isn't about status or appearance. It's about essence. It's about carrying yourself in a way that stands apart from the crowd. Most men never grasp this. They function in a state of seeking approval, believing that dedication and understanding are all that's required. But the fact is, resonance outweighs reason every time. So, in this discussion, I will outline 5 profound actions a man can take that a woman will always carry with her. Not simple acts or cliché affection, but actions that connect with her on a foundational, spiritual, and instinctive level. If you are done being the man women easily replace, and prepared to be the one they reflect on, fixate on, and never completely release, pay attention. What you learn next will fundamentally change your approach. 1. He departs with quiet resolve. Here is a concept most men fail to comprehend. A calm exit has more force than any outburst. Women are accustomed to men pursuing them, justifying, clarifying, seeking acceptance. That is the path nearly all men take when conflict emerges. But the man she cannot erase from her memory, he doesn't offer lengthy justifications. He doesn't over-communicate. He simply turns and walks away with purpose, without a signal, without resolution. Why does this resonate so powerfully? Because it shifts the dynamic. Most women are used to holding the emotional reins. They anticipate a man will seek their endorsement, to explain his position, to restore harmony. When you withdraw without a monologue or a plea, you instantly generate intrigue. You break her narrative. Now she is the one left pondering. This isn't about manipulation. It's about demonstrating inner strength, the capacity to step back when your limits are tested without requiring external validation. That aura is uncommon. And because it's uncommon, it's memorable. For instance, she tests your patience during a disagreement. Perhaps she belittles you or becomes emotionally distant. The typical man attempts to resolve it, discuss it, or, more weakly, appeal. You stop, hold her gaze, and state calmly, "This isn't for me." Then you exit. No drama, no follow-up message, no clarification. You allow her to experience the void you leave. You don't return quickly. You don't reverse your decision after a few hours. You maintain your position. Abruptly, the energy changes. Now she is rethinking the encounter, doubting her actions, wondering what transpired. And that doubt, that is the birthplace of her fixation. She may appear unaffected outwardly, but believe me, she will remember that instant. Not for a month, not for a decade, because at her core, she will recall the one man who offered no easy answers and left her with puzzles she couldn't solve. 2. He ignites a quiet envy without intention. A subtle sense of rivalry is one of the most potent emotional anchors in a woman's psyche, and the man who can naturally inspire it secures a lasting place in her recollection. Here is the key. If you intentionally try to provoke envy, it appears needy, contrived, transparent. And once it's transparent, it loses all power. But the man she can't shake is the one who generates this feeling effortlessly, simply by living a full life that isn't centered on her. This man has presence. Other women are drawn to him, smile at his stories, stand close, watch his social activity, and he never mentions it. He doesn't flaunt it. He merely lets her observe it. That quiet visibility is all that's needed. Why is this effective? Because women feel a deep connection to men they've invested in emotionally. When they understand they aren't the only one paying attention, the dynamic shifts. And the most challenging part for her is that you're not at fault. You're simply being a man of value in the world, not solely for her. That is what leaves a mark. Picture a social event. You're speaking with assurance, not attached to her side, and other women are smiling, interacting with you, briefly touching your arm. She observes this and her entire demeanor shifts. Later, she might make a pointed remark like, "You seem to be the center of attention." But you don't react defensively. You grin softly and reply, "I was just present in the moment." Then you steer the conversation elsewhere. Now she is fully engaged because she was acutely aware. And the reality that you didn't respond, didn't try to rationalize or make excuses, intensifies it for her. That moment etches itself, not due to disrespect, but because you demonstrated that your universe is vast. Other people recognize your worth, and that unspoken reality triggers something ancient within her. The anxiety of missing out on someone significant. That form of envy, it doesn't dissipate. It remains. 3. He awakens her inner storm. Every woman has a tempest within her, even the most serene. And the man she never forgets is the one who stirs it. Not from malice, not because he is harmful, but because he connects with something authentic, something fundamental. Most guys avoid risk. They aim to be her comfort, her security, her constant supporter. But the truth? Comfort is monotonous, expected, easily discarded. It doesn't create an imprint. But a man who can make her experience intensity, who mixes up doubt, ardor, irritation, and wonder, that man becomes permanent. Why? Because emotional turbulence is emotional commitment. And emotional commitment is the root of lasting obsession. She might dismiss you one moment, then analyze your messages the next. She could speak critically of you to her circle, yet check your online presence relentlessly. That is the storm. That is what holds her attention. You know you've reached her mind when she says things like, "I can't figure you out. You're a mystery. Why can't I stop thinking about you?" These aren't criticisms. These are signals you've broken through her ordinary patterns. You've disrupted her emotional routine. Understand, an inner storm isn't inherently negative. In fact, women are designed to experience life on a profound level. And when you trigger that potent combination of friction, anticipation, questions, and longing, you become an event, not just a person. Think about it. Has a woman ever said to you, "I can't explain it, but there's something different about you"? That is the storm speaking. That is her emotional whirlwind, and you are at its center. Men who evoke this aren't striving to. They are simply secure in their own skin, centered, spontaneous, and unafraid of her responses. And that captivates her completely. She may resist it. She may refuse it. But long after you've parted, she will still sense your presence. And sensations, they endure far longer than memories. You become an event, not just a person. 4. He establishes non-negotiable standards. Here is the fact. The men women always recall are those who define the benchmark and never compromise it. In the modern era, too many men are being overly cautious, scared to disagree, scared to be left, scared of solitude. They accept disregard, ignore warning signs, and remain silent just to maintain stability. And then they are confused when her respect fades, when she creates distance, when she forgets them, like an old memory. But a man who sets clear standards, principles, expectations, that man becomes a landmark. He isn't just another possibility. He is the sole one who has the fortitude to define his line and hold it. And here is the revelation. Women don't resent standards. They desire them. Not because they wish to be dominated, but because it communicates that this man holds himself in high regard, that he understands his identity, and that he won't accept poor treatment simply to avoid being alone. You communicate what you require: integrity, consideration, reciprocity. You don't escalate your tone. You don't command. You state. And if she disregards those principles, you don't plead for adjustment. You remove yourself. that composed power, that quiet conviction that is unforgettable. Now listen closely. If you are a man of principle, don't allow the world to diminish you for it. Don't let pain, loss, or external voices persuade you to become less. Good men are scarce, strong, emotionally solid. Self-honoring men are even more rare. And the reality is, women recognize this. That's why when they encounter one, they remember him. Particularly if he's the type of man who doesn't pursue, doesn't compromise, and doesn't participate in emotional manipulation. You want to be unforgettable? Cease trying to be approved of. Begin being esteemed. Set the standards. Uphold them. And allow her to meet your level. Because a woman of substance doesn't forget the man who understood his value and required her to demonstrate she was worthy of it. 5. He reveals depth, then creates space. Nothing carves itself into a woman's consciousness more deeply than a man who offered her a glimpse of authenticity and then created distance. We are not discussing calculated moves here. This isn't vanishing after a brief encounter or giving intermittent attention to manipulate. No, this is about lasting effect. Spiritual, meaningful, genuine effect. The kind of bond that feels unique, even profound, and then it's absent. It's the departure following a genuine connection that stays with her. Most men never achieve this. They either shield their emotions out of fear, or they offer too much and become overly familiar. But the man who lets her experience his essence, his intellect, his focus, his passion, then steps back with intention, that man becomes a permanent memory. Why? Because she witnessed a dimension of you most men are too scared to reveal. That raw, focused, masculine openness. You weren't clinging. You weren't performing. You were simply there, completely. And that energy is magnetic. It grounds her, energizes her, opens her up, and then you're not there. You didn't ask for a definition. You didn't run after her when she stepped back. You simply left her with the sensation of what it was like to be near a man who truly perceived her, then continued on his path without fanfare. That kind of departure leaves a lasting impression, not because you caused pain, but because you stirred something inside her that no one else had reached and then made her aware she might not experience it again. And here is the key. She may never confess it. She might act indifferent. She might claim you were just another encounter. But internally, she will revisit the moments. She will question why it concluded. She will measure every man who comes after you against that one period she can't reclaim. So remember this. It isn't always the man who remains the longest who is remembered. Sometimes it's the man who showed her the most profound connection, then created space without explanation. He stirred something inside her she might not experience again. Conclusion. Here is the difficult reality few will voice. A woman is more likely to hold onto the memory of the man who intrigued her than the one who loved her without error. Read that once more. Men are exhausting themselves trying to love her correctly, to be her foundation, to be the steady, reliable, expected partner. But that isn't what etches itself into her mind. What she remembers is the man who made her experience the full spectrum. The friction, the passion, the unknown, the quiet, the shift in balance, the peaks and the valleys. It's contentious, I know, but this is the dynamic most men don't know they are in. Affection is pleasant, but emotional resonance is unforgettable. So ask yourself this: are you creating a legacy or just being available? Let's make this personal. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share. Have you ever been the man she couldn't let go of, or the one she moved past without a second thought? Be truthful. This is a space for genuine men only. No filters, no false images. And yes, I will be reading what you share. I'll be responding, engaging, and perhaps even featuring your stories with your consent in future videos. So, speak up because your journey has meaning and someone listening needs to hear it. And remember, if you want to be unforgettable, stop following the guidelines that render you invisible. If this resonated, please like this video and follow Winds of Thought for more.